Hey team, Coach Chad here. Today we are talking about caloric shifting as part of modification of your meal plans, okay? Now, this is a very important topic because generally throughout a week when we first start, everyone is gung-ho, everyone's ready, everyone's very, very prepared. They've laid out all the other things they have to do. Your motivation's at the highest level, and it's very easy to stick day to day, week to week with the appropriate changes that you've laid out, meaning your protein goals, your calorie goals, and hitting the rest of the things that you've been working on. Now, as we get 3 months in, it becomes a little bit harder. There's constantly things that are jumping in. Even though you laid out at the very start your plan, your schedule for the 6 months with regard to events, trips, all that kind of stuff, naturally life just happens. So you do need to understand how to start caloric shifting throughout the week. Now, this may be something that you want to do or do not want to do, but you do need to understand that it's a possibility for you moving forward, which may make your weekly averages a lot easier to hit, okay? So when you go through this component, this part of your nutritional participants guide, it's going to highlight something that we have highlighted almost every week since the start, I believe, and that is that day-to-day changes or day-to-day tracking is not as important as is the broader picture of your week. The week is the most important thing to look at. The week gives you all the information, so you can have a high day, a low day, but as long as it averages out at the end of the week, then you're on track. So this allows for, within the flexible dieting approach, for you to have social events, for you to go out eating every once in a while, for you to have an upset weekend or whatever it might be. You just have to continue tracking no matter what, making sure that you know where you're at, what you're doing, where you've made some mistakes, or where you've planned in higher or lower caloric needs. And then at the end of the week, you can modify and justify all the things you have to do and make sure that they all work out at the end, okay? So in here, we lay out a couple examples. So it's a short section, but I have 2 pictures in here, examples. The perfect week, so the normal week of eating, and I've used a 2,000 kilocalorie or calorie diet across the board. So 7 days of 2,000 calories. Now that would be the ideal method of doing this, creating some routine, creating some structure, creating habits that are repeatable. But like I said earlier, life happens. So if you look at the next picture where we have a caloric shifted week, then we start looking into how you can modify. Now this picture is very simple, but you'll note that there are 3 days where there was a drop of 200 calories and 2 days with excessive calories. So on Monday, the individual was 200 calories over, and on Wednesday, they were 400 calories over their projected targets. No big deal. That's a total of 600 calories. All they had to do was modify the rest of the week by dropping out 3 days of 200. And then at the end of the week, they have the exact same total caloric load of the week of 14,000 calories. So this is where you'll see daily shifts in your weight. You might have some other things that you have to kind of track that are out of your routine, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the week adds up to the total of the caloric load that you need. Now, very important to note that when we go through here, I have a couple rules that one should not or should try not to have an increase or a drop in calories of over 10% of your daily load. So in this case, that would be only 200 calories on a 2,000 total caloric load. In my example, there was one day they were 400 over, so that would probably not be ideal, because then as you have this really high, almost a refeed day, the remainder of the week then has to require a greater drop on more days, which makes obviously sustainability a little bit more challenging. So it's best that you stick to not changing your caloric load by more than 10% per day and not do it for more than 2 to 3 days of the week. Now, where this becomes really valuable and useful for a lot of you guys may be in, like I've already mentioned, social events. So going out for dinners or banquets or whatever you're doing, a potluck, you know, that family and friends are going into. Obviously, some of you guys have made comments about like having increased load of calories on workout days. That's an option to you as well. You can increase your calories by 100 calories by maybe having an extra protein shake after your workout. So if you have 25 grams of protein, an extra 100 calories, then you can offset that into the next few days if you wish as well. And that way you can have highs and lows that are really easily built in, because the only change you're making is just that increase or that additional protein shake. as an example. Another one that I use personally, is changes on caloric load on the weekends. I find the weekends hard because my Monday to Friday is very, very scheduled. It's very structured because I got kids going to school. I got to be up at a certain time. I go to bed at a certain time. The weekends are always the hard part. So with the weekends, I usually have some caloric shifting that'll be required, and usually what I do is I actually shift it within the day, not per day, but sometimes Saturdays get a little carried away, Sunday's got to be a little bit more of a makeup day. This is where you guys can play around, make it work for your individual needs, okay? So the most important thing here is to understand and not beat yourself up when you make faults. You just simply correct them and move forward, okay? So if you have one of those days, which I know we've all had, where it's like, oh man, I was stressed, life got away from me, and I just went all out. Fair enough, okay? It happens. It happens to the best of us. Don't beat yourself up. Simply move forward, okay? Simply move forward by adjusting the next day lightly. And if you did really have a bad day where it's like, holy man, I'm over 2,000 calories, you know what, man? You just sometimes have to just stop and say, okay, I'm back on track. You're gonna drop off 200 to 300 calories the next day. You know you're gonna be over. That's fine. That's gonna reflect in your weekly total body weight average. So be it. Get back on track next week, okay? And then in the future, we're gonna talk about how to do shifting on a weekly basis rather than just a daily basis for the average of the week. But there's also ways you can do this for increased fat loss and for long-term sustainability where you actually have blocked sections of eating. It takes a little bit more work on your end, but it is something that's available to you. So we're going to talk about that in the next month or so, okay? So if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to your coaches. Also reach out within your weekly reflection guide, and I will answer all your questions coming up over the next few weeks. I hope that you guys have a great week. I hope that things are going great for you. So see you later, team.